welcome to CH Budget Brews. I'm Tim. Tonight I'm with my friend Wedge. How are you doing tonight, Wedge?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me on tonight, Tim. How are you doing?
I'm good. So, in case you don't know who Wedge is, he is one of the founders of the Conquest format, which is a multiplayer format that is kind of geared towards having a balanced competitive format. Also, it is very much on the budget focus, kind of budget centric ish, due to the way that the ban and restricted list is managed. We lost you. Where'd you go, Wedge?
I'm still here.
Buffering. I was like, did I scare you off that fast?
No. You're good. You're good.
So one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on tonight, Wedge, is because looking over the B&R list for Conquest and kind of how the format plays out, is I noticed that it kind of slots in very nicely with kind of what I do, which is kind of starter CDH decks, basically.
Yeah.
Because we tend to use a lot of like non-reserve list cards, a lot of cards that are readily reprinted and just more widely available. Yes. So, to start, I have this very nice doc here that you guys have made up. And so why don't you just give us like a basic overview of what Conquest is for those that don't know.
Okay. So, Conquest is an EDH variant. Its whole goal is to kind of be a multiplayer format focused around color balance, archetypal balance, along with huge quality of life changes. And quality of life is kind of things such as our library size, the card legality, and and as you mentioned, kind of budget friendly, format. So because we want an internal format that to where it's readily accessible to everyone, and you aren't instantly gated out because of the reserve list.
Right.
So kind of like how Modern is 8th edition and on for card legality, Conquest is everything not on the reserve list and on with a caveat of a banned list of cards.
Right. So it's anything that is not. So you have a B&R list that you guys maintain. Yes. You're one of those people, and then you also have just blanketed banned every card on the reserve list. In fact, that's one of the problems I keep running into. I'm like, wait a minute, I can't play Earthcraft in any deck.
Yes.
That honestly, that's been the worst. The worst
offender. Yeah, I miss Earthcraft too. I miss Earthcraft and LED the most, but
I don't even miss LED. I just like killing people with squirrels. Can't help it.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
Okay, so Conquest is as I said, it's a multiplayer variant focused on competitive and archetypal balance. So what that means is we wanted combo. We wanted as opposed to like EDH, where combo is the only archetype.
Right.
You have fast combo, you have mid range combo, but they're really just combos. That's
right, because you have to deal 120 damage or have an alt win condition to win in.
So
Commander.
In Conquest, we wanted combo instead of being the only archetype to being a viable one.
And archetype. Gotcha.
Yes. So we actually have. In Conquest, actual control is viable. We actually have some aggro lists that are actually powerful. One actually was too strong. We had to get rid of that one, which was Yuriko.
Okay.
We have commander damage is reduced down to 12, which actually gives you a whole other archetype.
So on your doc, in your rules, it looks like you have legendary creature or planeswalker can be your commander, right?
Yes.
1v1 is 25 life. Multiplayer is 30.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Commander damage has been reduced to 12.
Yes.
And then it's an 80 card singleton deck. Sans basic lands, obviously.
Yes.
So, and then you guys have banned all reserve list cards, all the conspiracy stuff, blah, blah, blah. So what are some of the notable cards that would be allowed in that modern style card pool that actually are on the B&R list? Like some notable ones.
Oh, some of the ones that are on our B&R list?
Yeah, so cards that so they're I mean, obviously the reserve list, but like, so there might be some cards that people don't realize are on the reserve list, and then there might also be some cards that there's a couple when I've looked it over that have been kind of like, oh, really?
Yeah.
I wanted to see what maybe your thoughts on those were.
Okay, so some of the cards that we have on the ban list that might be like, oh, okay. So we have a lot. So we have a lot of black tutors. So demonic tutor, vampiric tutor, imperial seal, as well as like just kind of other powerful tutors in general, such as mystical tutor and worldly tutor. So those cards which aren't on the reserve list, they are banned.
Okay.
For especially, so it kind of from going from 100 to 80 cards. Right. There's a certain like consistency type of an issue that kind of crops up with these cards. Like demonic tutor is just
it's just busted.
It's not a kosher card. You're not doing it's and so and not to mention with the legality of like Grim Tutor and Wishclaw Talisman in the format, they've been and also Diabolic Intent. Those kind of really fit in line with a lot of like the power level of what Conquest is.
Yeah.
Where there is actually like a bit of a downside to those cards.
Right, they cost. They're a little inefficient. They're you got to sack something or you give away a piece. Yeah. Which
so we have cards like that are banned. Some cards that are actually a little bit odd or like not really odd, but this is also like a bit of a. We did this for balance reasons, but also inadvertently, it's a great budget reason. All the fetch lands are banned.
Okay, I'm a little sad about that, but
so the reason, the fetch lands are just a little. They trivialize mana bases.
They do.
Part. They make it so there's like you have little incentive to ever want to play two color, or even 3-color decks when you could play 4-color or 5-color soup.
Right.
And makes it so your mana is virtually free, even with dual lands not being legal.
I mean, just look at Modern. Like they're 3-color, 4-color decks just run. Like you just play whatever you want.
Up until Astrolabe got the boot and everything. Yeah.
Especially like when Deathrite was legal too.
Yes, exactly. And so like that's kind of a thing. So getting rid of those has been great. Not to mention when you're physically playing with an 80 card deck and you don't have to shuffle all the time. That's a really big kind of quality of life change. It really kind of it genuinely increases the actual pace of gameplay and makes games go by quicker, even though the same amount of turns are still going on as opposed to like a competitive EDH.
Yep. No, totally. I understand. Well, and then there's some cards that I noticed that are banned as commanders.
Yes, yeah, we do have some cards banned as a commander. So we have some usual suspects who are kind of blights on humanity, such as Thrasios and Timna, Oko Thief of Crowns, and Najila the Blade Blossom and Leovold. Those are like some pretty there's some commanders that are like, yeah, that makes sense why they don't exist.
So question.
Yeah.
Are the bans as commanders, so that means they're allowed to be played in the 99?
Oh, 1000%, yeah.
Or is some of those cards that are banned as commanders also banned in the 99 in a separate column?
No.
Okay. Yeah. I was just curious.
If they're banned as the commander, they're just banned as the commander. If they're banned, then they're just banned outright.
You guys wouldn't have them in both. Like you wouldn't put them in as banned as commander and then just ban them regular. You would just make them banned regular. Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. I was just trying to clarify because I know some of them.
Yeah. So the ban list is there might be some cards that you'll look at and be like, oh, why is this on the ban list? Like you might look at what's a good one? Halden is on the ban list. Avid Arcanus. And you're like, why is this banned?
Because it's a mid-range meta.
And it's because of Halden and Paco was a deck that it was a deck where you pretty much the entire 79 was all based on ramping as hard as you could. Mm-hmm. You just put ramp and counter spells, and that's about it. And that would be all you would need. Because once you get Paco going, you essentially do like a super ancestral recall every turn,
right?
And you can just protect Paco and because of commander damage being set to 12, the first time Paco attacks having haste, you threaten to 2-shot somebody, and then after that you 1-shot every player from that point on.
Right.
And you have loads of protection because you've exiled a million cards that are likely counter spells or whatever.
Just good cards, and so like that just winds up being like, yeah, with commander damage being that low, which actually 12 is actually a much more reasonable number, in my opinion.
Oh, it's great. It's great.
I wish they would actually lower. In regular EDH, I wish they would lower it.
21 is obscene. It's like it's such a high number. Like literally anything lower would be amazing.
Yeah, like even 18. So that way Frog could 3-shot people.
Yeah. Forcing people to just potentially get 2-shot is way better than having a 3-shot players in a game of Commander. Even at Battle Cruiser level, Voltron is laughable.
It is. So we got the obvious omits, the dual lands, the power 9, stuff like that on the reserve.
Oh, one other thing to mention is that if you do have some weird cards that you see there on the ban list, you can in our Discord under our announcements where we announce all the ban list changes. We have super detailed paragraph by paragraph reasoning.
Oh, that's good to know.
Of why some cards are on the ban list.
I will also link the Conquest Discord in the description, along with this doc as well. So
yeah.
So anything else about the actual BNR list before we move down to some of the oddball reserve list cards that might be?
So so a lot of the things that you'll see on the ban list, just to kind of go over, you'll see there are kind of a lot of things that are common in competitive EDH. And they're just kind of gone, mostly by the reserve list going away. But then there are other cards that are just we kind of looked to eliminate all of these super hyper mana efficient, card efficient combos in the format that just they're completely commander agnostic. You can just jam them into a deck and call it a day. So that's why Demonic Consultation is gone, Tainted Pact is gone, Dockside Extortionist,
Tinker,
one of the most
Scepter,
that kind of stuff is just we're getting rid of them. Food chain is too good for this world, and so there's these kind of things. But this isn't to say that combo is completely gutted. Commander centric combo decks are still very strong and very powerful. I was going to say some of the best decks in the format are combo decks.
Right off the bat, I noticed one combo that is, or at least used to be commonly played, is still legal, and that is Leon and Relic Order combo. Leon and
Relic Order, and on top of that, so if you look at this ban list, there are cards that are here that are not from the EDH ban list. Yeah. So Paradox Engine and Panoptic Mirror are legal cards.
Yeah.
Panoptic Mirror lets you combo with any extra turn card infinitely. So you can play. So if you want to play a hard control strategy, Panoptic Mirror with extra turns is a huge win con because control decks usually have a hard time finding a finisher.
Yeah, I bet you Narset probably is pretty boss in this format. If you can get
Narset. Yeah, Narset does some sweet things. If she can resolve with haste, it's usually game over.
Well, because it looks like Mana Crypt is banned, Soul Ring is banned, but Chromox isn't, Mox Amber isn't, Mox Opal isn't.
Mana Vault is legal.
So there is some of the cheaper fast mana still available.
Correct. Yeah. So there's some staples that in Conquest that I'll say that go in just about almost every deck. Chrome Mox, Mana Vault, and Ancient Tomb are it's pretty hard. You're pretty hard pressed to find a reason to not play all those.
Not play them, especially because you're running a lot more to CMC rocks and dorks.
Yeah. Correct,
so having access to be able to power those out early. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to the reserve list a little bit here. I know that this is a contentious topic with a lot of people, but I actually personally like the fact that the reserve list cards are just carte blanche, not allowed in the format.
Especially
Well, especially mostly from a accessibility standpoint. Like, obviously, there's some things that you lose out on, but to be honest, once you ban a lot of stuff based on like how absurdly busted it is,
Yeah.
having these in the format as well make it a little bit.
It ends up being a net positive.
Yeah. So any notable like exclusions that aren't kind of obvious, like the blatantly obvious stuff to me would be like Wheel of Fortune, Time Twister. Those, though I know those are on the reserve list. Dual Lands I know are on the reserve list. Palancron, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
but
there's some weird cards. As you mentioned earlier, like Earthcraft is not legal.
Yeah, that was
Mox,
getting me.
Mox Diamond is not a thing. Transmute Artifact, is also reserve list. Gilded Drake, like a super common card. Copy Artifact.
Grim Monolith is another one that's on the reserve list.
Grim Monolith,
Cradle.
Yeah, Gaia's Cradle is also like a common one. Intuition is gone, but we have Gifts Ungiven legal. So
I'll take Gifts.
Yeah,
I like Gifts.
Yeah,
that allows me to set up a nice little pile. So I'm sure there's a nice gift stack running around somewhere.
Yeah, Kess gifts for turns is really awesome. You're like, would you like to take 6+ extra turns? Yes, I would.
I would, sir. All right,
Yes,
so I think that pretty much wraps up the intro to what Conquest is and kind of where it delineates from regular Commander, especially CEDH.
Yeah.
So why don't we look at I know you were nice enough to give me. There's a Conquest like Moxfield account.
Yeah. So this list. So it's a compilation of decks that are just, ones that are played by. They're kind of just like a lot of them are like example decks for people to play in Conquest, as well as some that are just played by other players. And we have it curated on a semi-regular basis by some of our moderators.
I was gonna say I noticed Roger's banned as a commander, but he's listed as a. Sorry.
That's what I mean by semi-regular. Yeah.
Well, and again, these are just these are examples. You said they're just meant to be representative. So I'm sure you're probably relatively familiar with this. So let's pick maybe a couple of lists and just kind of look at them just to compare.
Sure.
So one of the early adopter decks that I notice a lot of people kind of tend to get into is like Selvala.
Yeah, Selvala. Yeah, Selvala's really. Yeah, Selvala's pretty strong. And loses and going from, so this is like kind of like a really cool thing with going from CDH to Conquest is for the most part like converting a deck down to Conquest is pretty easy, where you're like, oh, I just cut out my reserve list and a few other cards,
right?
Move a few things around and you have a deck.
I mean,
Selvala is pretty much like the prime example of that, where you're just like, oh, okay, so I mean, just take out my RL and call it a
day. Like this list looks relatively optimized, and it's coming in. So this is probably this sample list is pretty close to like the optimized version.
Yeah,
sans a card or two probably. And it's coming in at like 670.
Yep, and this, it's only 670. That's pretty good.
Yeah, like and I have a hard time bringing a lot of decks down to this price right now. Like when I'm brewing budget decks.
Yeah.
And you have like a fully optimized version of a good intro deck, and it's coming in at about $150 more. And that's not even trying to budgetize it. So that's kind of a nice incentive.
Yeah.
And it looks like it'll play relatively close to the CDH variant.
Yeah, it still threatens like turn 3. It still threatens like turn 3 wins pretty consistently.
Yeah.
I
mean,
let's look at it. This is like always like a great example for like a deck that you could easily. And the thing is, you could make this even cheaper too. There's
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you can remove some of the staples. Like Sylvan Library will literally cut off like $50 right off the bat. Cavern of Souls and Gemstone Caverns can easily get nixed if you're like on a heavy budget.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, you could cut 3 cards and drop this price down to $500. Like if you cut Chromox if you cut Gemstone Caverns and Cavern of Souls, that would put this list at right around 500.
Yep.
And that's just like off the top of my head. That's not even like me trying to like do anything fancy.
Yep,
you know?
Exactly. Yeah, so it's really easy to it's very easy to budget because a lot. So like I actually have like a small list of like commonly played cards that are like the most expensive in Conquest. So as like a really kind of good comparative thing for like comparing like to CEDH. So like the most expensive card, not counting the Portal 3 Kingdoms cards, which are like Capture of Jingzhou and like Ravages of War.
Yeah.
Which those I think Capture the Judge promo is like $170. But if you don't count those, the most expensive card in Conquest right now is Allosaurus Shepherd at 150 because of Jumpstart. But
yeah.
And then the next card right below it as a common card or a staple is Force of Will at $100.
Right.
And then everything else trickles down, and then from that point on, like everything is roughly that's a staple or like a commonly used card is in the $40 to $50 range.
I mean, this sample list isn't even running Allosaurus Shepherd.
Yeah, like I said, semi-regularly. It's been a
no. I'm not pointing it out as like a. What I'm saying is like, I mean, this is a very respectable list, and and granted, it doesn't even have it in there. I'm sure it would play relatively good,
Yeah.
But, so
exactly. And so, we have like all these kind of like staple cards. Like I'll just list a couple of them off, like Sylvan Library, Chrome Mox, Enlightened Tutor, Ancient Tomb, Gemstone Caverns, Force of Negation, Cavern of Souls, Fierce Guardianship, Deflecting Swap, Mox Opal. These are all in like the $40 to $50 range.
Right.
And so when you compare that to like the other CDH staples, where you're looking at reserve list cards, where you're in the hundreds to thousands of dollars,
right.
you end up the price jump from going from CEDH to Conquest even at a full price is like astronomically smaller.
Yeah, I think I could probably build a fully optimized like 4-color good stuff list for like $1,000, and
that's actually you're correct. So like if you look at like some of the 4-color and 5-color lists that are that we might have around,
let's pick one and I'll go
about $900.
Let's see, 4-color, 5-color. So let's look at Omnath. Is that one okay?
Yeah. Omnath is one of the premier decks of the format.
Okay, so the sample list you guys have up is at $878.
Yep.
And it's not missing anything like super obvious when I'm looking at it, but I also am not the most like versed in this format, but it's got a Chalice of the Void, it's got Exploration. Yep. It does not have a Sylvan Library, ironically.
That's a weird exclusion, but this list is made by one of our like super brewers of our community, Island Go. He's someone I recommend looking at his Moxfield page.
Okay.
If I can find that later.
I was gonna say if you have it, I'll link it. You can just throw it in the chat and I'll pin it.
He's like one of our brew wizards. Like if there's a deck to play, he's probably brewed it, and he builds pretty competent decks, and like he's primarily known for kind of pushing forward the raw, like literal actual mid-range strategy. Like actual mid-range is a viable archetype in this format, and lands mid-range is like one of the things that he's like pushed really hard. The
one thing I keep tinkering around with whenever I go around to build a Conquest deck, and maybe I'll motivate myself to get a little farther on, is I want to play with Eternal Dragon.
Eternal Dragon?
Yeah. Do you know what Eternal Dragon does? So it's a 5/5. It's a 5/5 flyer for 7.
Yeah.
It has plane cycling. So
plane cycling! Wow, I haven't seen this card in literal years.
Yeah. So you
shuffle your library.
Yeah. So you just pay 2, go get a Hallowed Fountain or whatever, and then later in the game you can return it from your graveyard to your hand for 4 mana, and that's your finisher.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I used to play it.
I haven't seen this card in so long.
I used to play it in land still back in the day with Exalted Angels.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I love Landstill. That card's so sweet.
I wanted to build like a fork, like a blue white red X something, probably blue white red, probably Jeskai, like Landstill style list. But that's kind of what I've been tinkering around with. But anyway, I digress. So, but yeah, like the overarching kind of point is, like, at least when I've looked at a couple of these lists, let's grab another one, is that, like, even the higher end of Conquest is still, like, within reach. Because, like, most of the cards that I'm looking at are sub $50. And especially if you're playing, like, Sans Blue or non-blue. Like, let's look at, how's this, Kadama Ravos?
Oh, Kodama Ravos. Let's see.
Or is there a different list we should check out?
Let me see. Kodama Ravos. Oh, that's I think that one is a. Oh, that was a Bruise Day one. That one's like not really.
Okay, well, really, what about like Urza or Taigam?
Oh yeah, Urza and Taigam are. Urza's very powerful and very popular.
Right.
Because Paradox Engine is legal in the format, so.
Yeah. So. All right, so here's a mono blue list. So it's running Force of Will, Manager, or it's running Force of Will, Force of Negation, like that kind of stuff, and it's clocking in at 944. And it's running a Fierce Guardianship, Flusterstorm, Force of Negation, Force of Will, like Psych Rift. It's got the Chromox. It's got a top in it. It's running all the Snowlands for.
This deck is a little more on the higher price end because artifact based.
You're right. It's artifact based and it's blue, so it's running a lot of the higher end stuff. And I mean, even that it still is looking like it's not really like. I'm not saying it's cheap, but I'm just saying it's doable for the most part. And And even at that point, you can still budgetize it down and then kind of buy up. Like, one of the biggest things that was kind of drawing me to want to talk to you about it a little bit was like the fact that like you can buy into it and scale up, and it's not like when I'm trying to like do like a budget CH deck. Really, the dirty truth is I'm really getting you to commit to that so that way you proxy eventually. You know what I mean? Yeah. Whereas with this, you could start out with like a budgetized version and work your way up pretty easily.
Yeah, and the nice thing is like the disparity in power level between a budgeted version of these decks is not like we're talking like small percentages in small percentages in a win in terms of win percentage increase by being fully optimized. So like the power gap between like a budgeted CDH deck and a non-budgeted one, like they can like it's the power level they can be almost an entirely different format almost.
They are an entirely different format.
Yeah, exactly. So, but with Conquest, like cutting like 4 cards out of your 4 or 5 cards out of your list to save $300 is not a huge difference.
And then save some store credit, turn in some old cards. Like I could just look at this list right now, and if you just switched your printing on Mana Vault, you'd cut $40 off your list.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was looking at my...
Same thing with Lotus Petal. So the number on that, like the numbers that are tabulated on this list are not completely authentic to the actual, what it would cost you to buy it.
Yeah, I think you're correct on that.
Like
I was looking at one of my main decks that I play, which is I play Greven Predator Captain. And
is that on the website? Let me look at it.
I actually am not sure if it is on the Moxfield website. It definitely should be. I shill that deck out whenever I can.
Can you send me the link and I'll?
Yes, I shall.
He's on it right now, boys.
So, with this list, I could easily cut. Let me see.
Oh, that's why you're on Scryfall.
Yeah, I have to move it up. I have to move it over to Moxfield.
I just blew it up.
I brew deck. I typically brew decks on on Scryfall, and then I moved them over to Moxfield because I'm just used to like the auto populator on Scryfall just moves pretty quickly for me, and then once and then I move it over to Moxfield, but I'm inherently lazy, so moving over things to Moxfield is
that's fine.
It's always on my to-do list.
But, no, I get it. I'm with you. Like I've got lists still untapped out just because I haven't gotten to updating them yet, so they're just there. And then when I get around to updating them, then I port them over. Poor Harry.
Yeah, dude, Harry's amazing.
He is.
So with this list as an example, like I could easily cut. Let me see. Necropotence, Ancient Tomb, Cavern of Souls, Gemstone Caverns.
Yeah, because it's clocking in at a little over 1,000. Yeah. But like,
and I could cut like $300 from this deck like right now if pretty easily. I could honestly cut $500 out of this deck, and still play it optimally or semi optimally with by like literally playing more basics or playing more budgeted lands. Because
so I mean, even I'm telling you, like half the time it's just switching printings on cards.
Yeah,
like
absolutely. Just trying to get cheaper print.
Yeah, good example is it the Tanglewire? The switching printings on Tanglewire, like so the one that you have listed, is actually like $26, whereas it's pulling the price of from the Vault one. The $15 one. As an example, like the Mana Vault on the Urza list is listed at $81. That's because it was from EMA. Whereas if you just get like a 4th edition, it's like $42.
Right.
You know, and also the other thing is getting cards in like heavier played condition, stuff like that. Like looking up
things for TCG low can be.
Mm-hmm.
You can like the moderately played or the heavy played stuff. You can get some pretty big discounts.
Yeah, you can oftentimes buy like this $1,000 list, even just keeping it as it is, and just get $200 off just by like not buying the fancy versions of cards.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of times, like, and that doesn't seem. But I mean, if I could cut 20% off of a list just by buying like slightly beat up, slightly, non-pretty versions, like I do it all the time, like just kind of as an example. But anyway, so you've mentioned a couple times kind of the speed of the format, and we've looked at a couple of sample lists. So so I know how like they describe like Legacy as a turn 2 format, and they describe Modern as like a turn 4 format. And I think Standard gets described as a turn 6 format. Oftentimes.
Yeah. So I would say Conquest is probably in the range of like a turn. I would say it's roughly like a turn 4 format.
Okay, so it's kind of on.
And that's where you're expecting like the pretty big, like around turn 4, turn 5 is when you start to see like the pretty big plays. Like either like a combo deck is threatening to go off by turn 4. Obviously like some combo decks can do turn 3, but like, we're talking like you have like the nuts. Or no one has interacted with you whatsoever. So like but like like turn 4 is like when combos are starting to get threatened. Stacks decks have pushed their board state pretty heavily.
Right.
A commander damage deck is usually threatening to kill a player or killing a player by turn 4.
Okay.
That seems to be around the sweet spot of when we're seeing like the big action plays happening.
And a lot of that has to do with just the overall speed.
Yeah.
So I don't.
That's kind of something we've tried to curate too, as well. So like that's why like some fast combo decks like they have just simply just not. They just haven't made. They're just not
existent because they don't
for the format.
Right. So I don't know how much you guys draw off of my mana base template.
I'm not sure actually.
I wonder. Because I have that budgeted mana base template that I curate on the Budget Brews website. Have you seen? Have you seen it before?
I have not actually. You need to show me.
I will show you right now while we're just sitting here chewing the fat. I also keep budget ramp interaction Tutors. It's actually got a lot of stuff.
Club. I love that. I love that URL.
Yeah. Thank you, Crushfield. But if you look at the mana base template, you guys, it might not be 100% useful to you guys, just because like it does include some fetches and stuff like that.
I mean that's fine. That just ignore those 10 cards.
Not even 10. It's like 3.
Gotcha.
I do exclude a lot of cards. So this is I tend to cut cards once they get over like $20. But even the ones that are over $20, if you go down the considering, you'll see Gemstone Caverns here and Ancient Tombs on the ramp, because I really count it as ramp more than I count it as mana per se.
That's fair.
You know what I mean? Like same thing with like Crystal Vein. It's on the ramp template. So like if you look at the ramp template, it kind of gives you a lot of those same, like you'll see those cards between the regular and the considering. It's the next tab down. Do I not have?
Do that right now.
Nope, but I'm gonna add Ancient Tomb right now to ramp. I think it's never dropped below. I usually only feature cards that kind of they get a reprint and then they drop down into the 20s, and then I'll feature them.
Yeah, like Ancient Tomb got to like the $20 range during was it Double Masters or something? Or no, it wasn't Ultimate Masters.
Yeah, that was before I made this.
Yeah,
was the thing. But the basic premise is that it will. These might actually be usable for you guys as well. Actually,
looking at this, there's tons of a lot of these lands are excellent budget options. Like we leverage the Rainbow lands pretty heavily.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously the Pain lands and the Pain lands and the Battle Bond lands are all stars.
Yes, they are. But there's some hidden gems in here, like I'm a big fan of those buddy lands from M10 and Innistrad. Like they're just like they never.
The Innistrad ones are really sweet, especially like because Conquest is a heavily has a pretty heavy leaning towards 2-color decks.
Okay.
So like those decks where you're already jamming actually like a good number of basics, you can flash those cards no problem.
Yeah, even in I even run them in 3-4 color decks without problems.
Oh yeah,
like the amount of times that those lands come into play untapped is pretty nominal. But yeah, just something I thought about that you might find interesting. So all right, anything else we should go over about Conquest that I'm not aware of?
I'm trying to think.
I mean, we can always do this again. Like, I'm not to say this is a one time, and I'm not trying to push out the door. I'm just trying to not.
Yeah, no worries.
Meander too long.
Anything else? Outside of kind of just maybe we kind of just talking about how the format generally kind of plays.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So a difference between CDH to EDH, or from CDH going down to Conquest is obviously where you're going from a fast combo environment, you're now going to an environment where the games are a bit slower.
Yeah,
and it's a more, because more of the commander agnostic combos are gone. Commander centric strategies and commander centric decks and combos are very prominent. So that ends up happening is you end up having a more creature heavy format. So board wipes and pyroclasms are very powerful and very used. Red is one of the best colors in the format, even without Dockside Extortionist.
Right.
In the format, and it's doing fantastic. White has some really serious game with bears being supremely powerful, and then a lot of them having that kind of 3 toughness mark to
no Dranith though, thank God.
No Dranith. But they pressure life totals like crazy.
Okay.
So having wraths that could actually hit more than 3 toughness are kind of at a premium in the format. So things like Fire Covenant are really good. Oddly enough, a red wrath that is actually not too bad that we see a lot of play is Blasphemous Vac and Chain Reaction.
Yeah, Anger of the Gods probably is pretty good.
But yeah, Anger of the Gods is fantastic as well.
Yeah.
Hitting that three for a solid mana cost is really great. Obviously, Wrath's like Toxic Deluge, but yeah, like Wraths are premium, and it's pretty expected to. It's actually like heavy Wraths are almost expected in games where a lot of green decks are opting to nowadays not run like a maximum number of mana dorks. Instead, they run a lot of them are running the like 3 visits, Nature's Lore.
Okay.
They're opting for a more land based strategy.
Yeah, land based ramped. You know why? Besides the whole Primeval Titan, but also one thing everybody always seems to forget about is what is one of the main like social contracts of Commander.
No mass line destruction.
Yeah, that's why Angry Omnath is always good no matter what you play, because nobody can interact with you.
Yeah, like Field of the Dead is one hell of a card.
Yes.
Let me tell you that. Field of the Dead, and one thing that I've lost to with against Omnath has been Dryad of the Elysian Grove into Valakut, which is with Vesuva. And it's like they're like, all right, I'm gonna scape shift, and I'm gonna deal 90 damage to everybody. Like, no big deal.
Yeah.
So there's some really cool stuff going on over there. But yeah, green decks are kind of opting for more like land based strategies.
Yeah, like spell based ramp.
Hate bears are premium. Hate bears are great. Graveyard Hate is very powerful because of we have like Entomb, Reanimate type of shenanigans.
Right.
This is kind of like our.
And it looks like you guys play around like 25 to 28 land, like 25 to 27 lands in most lists.
Yeah.
I saw that
some of the fast combo green decks or just fast combo decks run like 24-ish, and that's kind of pushing it. But yeah, 25 and up is usually like 26 has been like my whenever I brew a deck, I pretty much always start off at like 26 lands.
Okay.
And then just kind of work from there whether I feel like I need more or less land.
Yeah, I saw the Omnath list looked like it ran 32, but it's also like a lands matter
it's a
list.
landfall deck.
Yeah. So you kind of need that. So
yeah. So
and
go ahead.
And you guys did like a event, like a tournament recently, right?
We did a it was called King of the Chrome, and the top 4 got different foiled versions of Chrome Mox as their prize. It was really sweet. We had like about 40 entrants into the event.
Okay.
A Yuriko took the event. It was really cool. Our top 4 had it was Tyam, Urza, and 2 Yurikos, and then like our top 8 was I'm trying to remember all the decks.
And then Yuriko caught a.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say Yuriko caught a bad case of bans.
Yeah, she got a bad case of the bans, but she was something that we've been looking at since like midsummer last year.
Okay.
As something that was really concerning. So it was more just like kind of like the nail in the coffin that
right. And you were
so
about to.
It wasn't like a knee jerk like, oh, she won that. She was in the 2 in the top 4. We gotta get rid of her. It's like we've been looking at this for a very long time and have had like deep discussions about it, and that was kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back.
Right. And you were about to say something about the top 8 before I cut you off about Yuriko.
Yeah, the top 8. Yeah, we had some gnarly decks. There was like I think there was a Perforos in top 8.
Okay.
Yeah, Perforos is actually like a viable deck. Mass Life Loss in general is like an archetype, like not necessarily just like aggro beats, but like anything that deals, mass life loss. At,
right.
Like mono like there's a lot of mono black decks and Orzhov decks. Like Combal, that one hate bear guy. He is nuts in this format.
Yeah, I can see him. Yeah, he'll get gnarly real quick. I could see that.
Yeah, so like mass life loss is really common. Rurik Thar, Combal, Perforos, Krenko with like making a lot of tokens. Sir Conrad. There's a lot of really gnarly like. So the field is open, and like just another way to kind of paint it is it's kind of like a brewer's paradise. There's so many, the format's still super unexplored. There's still a lot to kind of break new ground on.
It's not solved.
Yeah, no, it won't be for it won't be for a while.
Yeah, I made a snarky tweet today. Go ahead. Go on.
The last thing I was going to say was also Planeswalker decks are have some really good game as well, and some of them create some really powerful control strategies. What's her name? Saheeli Sublime Artificer is one of my favorite. One of my favorite Izzet decks.
Oh yeah, that seems boss.
Yeah, you just make servos as you're casting spells to protect Saheeli, and then you can Reality Scramble is one hell of a card where you can Reality Scramble your Planeswalker directly into an Ugin. So imagine you're playing a control strategy with Saheeli. You have a couple of servos. You Reality Scramble your Saheeli into Ugin, and then you Ugin the board, and you have all of your artifacts in play and multiple servos to protect Ugin, and you've just completely exiled everybody's boards. And you're like, okay, cool. I'm just chilling with an Ugin now.
I'm just gonna scoop now.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm gonna try to fight through that.
Yeah. And you could try.
Nah, I don't want to sit here for another 45 minutes and bleed out slowly.
Yeah. So there's strategies like that, but also Jessica is one hell of a card too. The Planeswalker from Commander Legends. Jessica plus Crown is a really powerful combination. Probably that might be the best control deck in the format. I mean, I don't want to say what's the best right now.
No, I get you. I get what you're saying, but it's
very strong.
You're definitely impressed with how it plays.
Yeah, Crown, because Crown just threat. So Crown plus Jessica just one shots any player if you have both in play. But also just Jessica is just a board wipe in your command zone at any given time.
Is Jeweled Lotus legal?
No, it's not.
Okay.
That one was a little too much for
No. I was I was just thinking. I'm like, wait a minute. Is it okay? Sorry, that was a bad joke.
We try to think things through.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, okay. You were saying about a tweet.
Oh, I made a snarky tweet today about how I could live on a deserted island, and somehow CDH players would find me to shill their jank every time there's a pre-release, or every time spoiler season starts.
There we go. Here we go.
And then I replied later on I tweeted out that, I prefer old jank to new jank, so here's my updated Thar list.
Hey, old jank is the best.
Oh, I love old jank. I'll just keep rebrewing the same 5 commanders over and over again.
Please do. Where's the next Gave? When's the next Gave Earthcraft list, man?
Oh, no. It was Tana Timna Earthcraft, but yeah.
I need Tana Timna. I need any Earthcraft list. That's all.
I do love me some. Honestly, I'm thinking. So here's the thing. Right now, with the reason why the main reason why I play Earthcraft isn't because I like killing people with squirrels. It's actually because Earthcraft itself is a really good mana engine that plays really well under Curse Totem and Null Rod.
It does.
So what I typically do, with my Squirrel Force 1 deck, is I leverage 2 to 3 Null Rods in the list.
Yeah.
To act as anti-rock hate. And then a lot of times what'll happen is I'll run into another Stacks deck and they'll have anti-creature hate. So then I can leverage that Earthcraft as a mana engine under both.
Yeah.
So I don't get locked up. Yeah, it's a really good parity breaker, and and then that also wants you to leverage into playing hate bears of your own. You want to play a predominantly dork based ramp, even though that's probably a little slow right now, a little too slow. But and that's kind of why that's the meme. But the real meme is it's a deck that works. It's a mid-range deck that can break parity under Stacks, basically.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I think that probably about wraps it up for.
I think it does. Yeah, I think if there's ever another time that I come back to talk about Conquest, it'll likely be for either if you ever want to try to brew a deck something like either under a budget or something, or just any deck doesn't have to be budgeted.
Yeah.
Because the prices are pretty reasonable.
I was going to say, it seems like we could do like a $500 list in about 3 minutes. Hit update to cheapest and cut like 4 cards.
Yeah. That's about and we're done.
And now we got to find replacements. But
yeah,
maybe we could try doing a couple of like $200, $300. That might be
something that's like more pretty entry level, but also like powerful at the same time.
Yeah, like I like to do something that's above like pre-con, but like not and start getting you into the state. A lot of it is a lot of the least with my builds are more designed to help you build a collection than they are. Like, they're designed to be a functional deck at first, but designed to like give you a clear upgrade path to the optimized list or somewhere in between.
Yeah. Yeah,
so,
no, that would be cool to kind of have start off with something that has like clear like steps of like where you want to go from there.
Yeah, or at least suggested steps. So, all right, Wedge. So, where can people play with you if they want to play with you?
So I am available pretty much. You can find me on the Conquest Discord. Link will be in the
description.
In your descriptions and all that stuff. I'm there all the time. I love to talk about things. I'm available pretty much. I'm trying to think of that. I'm around. I kind of hang around some of the other like CDH like content creator kind of places. Like you can find me on the Spike Feeders and the Mr. Femoras.
Okay.
I'm on we also recently launched Conquest on Play 80H, so we have some stuff going on there.
I saw that when I poked over one day.
Yeah, we were over there. We launched in December. We're doing pretty good. We're gonna be pushing out some more content over there.
Cool.
And we should be starting a league in the next couple months.
Okay.
So we'll be doing we're gonna be doing some kind of open house and big Q&A for people in the community pretty soon. But yeah, you can find me on the Conquest Discord. I'm there all the time.
Okay.
Feel free to find me.
That's cool.
Answer questions, talk about the format. So yeah.
And now that I've dirty little secret. This was a way for me to kind of lazily learn about Conquest without having to read the whole doc. That was it.
It's a good crash course.
It was a crash course for me. So, all right. Well, that's good, man. And it was definitely nice talking to you. And I'll link the description below. So, with that, I think we'll wrap up for the night. You can find me on.
It was fun.
You're welcome.
It was a good chat.
Yeah, and you can find me on the Budget Brews Discord, which will be linked also. And if you want to contribute, you can go to patreon.com. /CDH_budget_brews and throw us a buck. It'll help a lot with keeping the quality of the cast and not a podcast, but help with hosting, making sure I have internet because uploading and down. Yeah, stay fed so that way I can do this, maintain the website, stuff like that. And with that, have a good night, guys. Bye.